Hi there, it's Nicole for Simon Says Stamp, and today I have a set of 3 simple rainbow cards to share with you. What I love about these is they are very simple in design, but they really don't need to be over the top. There are a few things you can do to really kind of takes a simple design like this and really make it wow. And one of those things is the addition of that simple strip of rainbow paper along the bottom edge. The other is some inlay. So I'm going to share 2 inlay cards and one that is not inlay. It's just using a picture book die. You can do either way. The picture book die is going to be probably a little bit quicker. The inlay, though, is probably one of my all-time favorite techniques, and I'm going to show you my favorite way to do this. I've shared it before, but I think it's worth repeating because I think it's a very easy way to do an inlay. What I've got here is a strip of 3 3/4 inch smooth white cardstock by 5.5 inches. Along that long 5.5 inch edge, we are going to take a scallop stitches die, and this has been out for a while, but this is probably one of my most used and favorite dies from Simon Says Stamp, a fantastic basic. 3 different sizes. We're using the medium size scallop. At the same time, we're going to go ahead and die cut that Cupid's heart border. This is a newer release product from Simon Says Stamp, and great little border here. They have lots of borders, so if you don't necessarily want to do hearts, consider using one of their other borders to create a fantastic little edge just like this with whatever shape you like. Then I've got about a 1.5 inch, maybe 1 3/4. I didn't measure it exactly. I just need it to fit along the bottom edge of the card by 5.5 inches piece of that Lawn Fawn really rainbow pattern paper. In fact, you can get 4 strips to make 4 cards like this from that one sheet of paper. I'm only doing 3 here today, but you could get 4 if you wanted to. That I Love You greeting is from the Handwritten Love stamp set. This is a fantastic greeting stamp set. We're going to pair this with another greeting from You Got This greeting stamp set from Simon Says Stamp for all 4 cards. So they're going to feature sentiments from these 2 stamp sets on all 4. This one says I love you. Next, to do the inlay, and I have not found an easier way to do an inlay. This is my favorite way, especially if you wanted a little bit of a dimensional panel for a card. The rainbow paper is going to be adhered flat to a side fold card base. The panel with the inlay is going to be raised up with foam adhesive. It's going to serve 2 purposes. It's going to raise this panel, and it's sticky on both sides. So while I am putting it close together down there right where the Cupid's heart border is, I don't need to do it that close the rest of the way. The reason being, it's sticky on both sides. When I flip this over, it's the perfect adhesive, to place your little hearts and leaves into those pieces. So I'm taking scraps of Lawn Fawn cardstock now, and I'm going to piece all of this together. What I found worked the easiest, because you can see some little pieces there to the right on my screen. I did start die cutting things, and then I was like, I'm going to get lost if I do it this way and just start die cutting. So I took some cilantro cardstock, and I'm going to die cut this first, the whole border, because I need all those little leaves. So I'm going to discard everything else, or I could save it and use it for something else, another project if I wanted to. But I'm going to take the leaves and go ahead and inlay all of my leaves first. That is really going to kind of help move this project along. At least for me, this was just a very natural and easy way to assemble my inlay design. The green for the leaves is also the green in my rainbow. I wanted to duplicate the feeling of that rainbow paper in my Cupid's heart border, but I didn't necessarily want to have green leaves and a green heart. So I'm using green for all of the leaves throughout, and then the hearts are going to be in shades of ballet slippers, raspberry, chili pepper, fake tan, sticky note, sunflower, mermaid, peacock, blue jay, and sugar plum cardstocks. That's a lot. I don't want to die cut the whole border for 1 or 2 little pieces. The little circles and the hearts are all I'm going to be using, and really maybe 1 or 2 from each. So what I found was easiest, I'm using scraps. I have a whole scrap file of my Lawn Fawn cardstock. I would just die cut part of it and then go ahead and pop those little pieces out. Adhere those kind of throughout the design, and that was the easiest way I found to do it. I did save a lot of those hearts because I think they're fantastic for other projects, but other than that, I went ahead and discarded anything else. But the hearts are amazing and can be used for so many. Anytime you need a little heart, I'm always needing little hearts. So I keep a whole little container with those little scraps and throw them on projects when I'm needing something like that. This is the You Got This greeting that I am stamping on black licorice Lawn Fawn cardstock. I use the You Make Life Beautiful greeting. I really love this sentiment. I think it's beautiful. I think it looks or works rather well with the I love you. I'm going to stamp that with Versamark, heat emboss with white embossing powder, and then heat set with my tool, trim that into a thin strip, and adhere that right above the I love you using some score tape. I like the 1/8 inch score tape. I think it works fantastic for these thin little strips of cardstock. This is one of my favorite looks for all kinds of different cards and just a really easy way to adhere that. So we're going to attach that. We'll peel off the backing paper from all of the foam adhesive. Adhere that rainbow strip to a side fold card base first, and then adhere the foam adhesive panel to the top of that card, and that's going to finish off that. If you want to add some additional embellishment, which you guys know me, I tend to always want to add just something else because simple does not come natural to me. I absolutely adore the look, but I tend to struggle when trying to do the look myself. I went ahead and took a Nuvo Sparkle Shimmer Aqua Shimmer pen. You could take the Wink of Stella clear glitter marker, and I colored that over the hearts and the leaves in my Cupid's heart border. And in real life, they have this amazing shimmery, sparkly effect. Very subtle, but really, really pretty. And I think it just kind of adds another element to the design of the card and adds a lot of interest. And I'm going to color over these just one at a time. They look a little darker when you first place it on there because of course the liquid is wet, but as it dries, you're just left with this beautiful shimmery sparkle. Really loving that. Then instead of doing the same thing for all the little circles, instead, I opted to take glossy accents, which I have a fine tip applicator on, and I'm going to add little drops of glossy accents to all of these little circles, and they're going to have a little glossy raised dimensional finish, and that will finish those off. Let that sit and dry maybe 45 minutes to an hour. It really, glossy accents does not take long, and those will be completely dry. You could also use Nuvo Crystal Glaze in lieu of that, or even use maybe some of the translucent colors of Nuvo Crystal Drops over those. Lots of ways to decorate those little inlay die cut pieces. So there is the first card. The second card, really similar. We're just going to use a different die. So I'm not going to go quite as in depth because the steps are exactly the same as the first card. I just want to share some little tips and tricks as far as putting this together, because the sprinkle heart is what we're using here. And there are lots of those little circles, lots of little hearts. Kind of can be a little tricky to line those up. What I found worked the best was if those pieces wouldn't pop all the way out when they were die cut. They're die cut all the way through, but they tend to kind of stick, which is a blessing. Because then you can simply line up your colorful cardstock over your white cardstock inlay that's already been backed with foam adhesive and simply press those through. I'm using the Spellbinders Tool-in-One. You could use a stylus or another type of tool, but you just kind of poke those through and move those into place, and they're going to stick perfectly. They're inlaid perfectly, but it's a much easier way than trying to pop all those out and then figure out what goes where, because that would be a trick. And I wasn't really interested in doing something that was going to be that difficult. So anything that stuck in those dies, I was like, yep, that is perfect. I can just line it up, push it through with some sort of piercing tool, and we're going to get those right where they need to go. Surprisingly enough, this one went together even faster than the last one because of that. Because I'm just kind of lining it up and pushing those through where I want them. Very, very easy. Just like before, I have a stamped greeting. This one's over to the right of the heart. And it says, I believe in you. Above that, we have a sentiment from the You Got This stamp set that reads, everything will be okay. Again, just like the other card, I just switched up the sentiments and switched up the die I used, but the design is basically exactly the same. Just like before, I'm going to take a aqua shimmer pen. I'm going to color over the hearts with that to make them sparkly, but all of the little circles I added glossy accents to make them a glossy, slightly raised, textured finish. And I just set that aside to completely dry. Really quick and easy. For my last card, I opted not to do inlay. Instead, we're going to use a picture book die, same design as before. I wanted to show you how versatile this design is. You could do this design a zillion times and just switch up your sentiments and switch up what dies you're using to, customize it to the recipient. So again, this one is going to use a little bit longer greeting from the Handwritten Love stamp set. Your friendship means the world to me. And then underneath it, one of the great things, I know I've mentioned it over and over and over, but the You Got This stamp set from Simon Says Stamp is very versatile and I think is so useful for lots of different cards. But something I love is there's a sending you greeting that you can put sending you a smile, sending you a hug, sending you prayers. I love that. I love that you can customize it a little bit. So I put your friendship means the world to me, sending you a hug. Who doesn't love getting a hug in the mail, especially from those friends that you have that are a long ways away? I've already used my picture book dies. I assembled the bear. You guys know all about that. The only difference here, I used some neutral cardstock for my bear. Lawn Fawn vanilla malt, paper bag, and chocolate bar. Little ballet slippers for the insides of his ears, red for the heart on his chest, and then I had leftover red hearts from something else like I was talking about earlier that I scattered up above. So that's a great use for those extra hearts. We're going to put the rainbow paper along the bottom edge. This background, because there's no inlay, I opted not to do foam adhesive. We're going to adhere this directly to that background. Pop the little greeting stamped on the black cardstock right below that using the 1/8 inch score tape. And my background hung over just a little bit, so I'm going to use my scissors to trim that up and make it nice and clean. We will also add glossy accents to the eyes, the nose, and then use the aqua shimmer clear pen again for all the hearts. Except for the insides of the ears. I did not do those. But the red heart on his chest and the little red hearts up above, I added that aqua shimmer to, and then we'll finish with glossy accents on those. There's the greeting. And that really finishes up this set of 3 simple rainbow cards. Thanks for joining me today for these 3 cards featuring Simon Says stamps and dies. The supplies I used to create my cards are listed and linked below the video here on YouTube. Here are a couple more videos featuring Simon Says stamps and dies that you might be interested in. Please subscribe for weekly card making and stamping videos. Thanks so much for joining me today, and we'll catch you next time.